Most golfers leave the course convinced that their swing is the problem. That's why they can't shoot lower scores. When in reality, the biggest mistakes are free to fix. They're decision based. And in this episode, we break down all five. Hope you enjoy. The first mistake, the biggest mistake that we think that people make, the most widespread one that is like, it's really hard to not do, is that your range sessions are designed to feel productive, not actually be productive. And that's where that understanding where to determine whether you should use random practice or block practice or what drills you should do can get tough. And there's a ton of studies that I'll link down below. They're both important. Both random and block practice are important. The clips that I recorded a YouTube video this week and posted a clip, and it was talking about, the clip I pulled out, semi out of context, was that if you're hitting to the same target 2 times in a row, you're practicing for a mulligan during an outing or a penalty shot. And everybody's like, oh, like a ton of people disagreeing, which is fine if you disagree with that. Like, that's okay. I'm just basing my information on like a dozen different scientific studies in multiple different disciplines. And so the other thing is, like, our goal is to help golfers who primarily have a 9 to 5. Like, I'm not really worried about. I saw a video of JJ Spawn hitting a bunch of balls to the same target yesterday. Like, okay, cool. Like, he's a top 20 player in the world. Like, I'm not super worried about JJ Spawn who has this as a full-time job. I'm worried about a guy who has a full-time job who's trying to play good golf. And if you have limited time, the best thing you can do is practice under the conditions that you're going to experience. I don't know.
Yeah.
What do you think there?
Well, I actually want to ask you two questions to really clarify that block practice versus random practice. So, when we think about block practice, would you say that block practice should primarily be when you're working on swing changes or swing aesthetics in mechanics, for lack of a better term?
And I was actually diving into that a little bit this morning. Yeah, if you're working on a movement pattern is what I'm gonna uh, kind of
Yeah, great
distill
way
it
of
down
saying
to,
it.
because if you're a beginner golfer, like, random practice is going to be A, too complicated, and B, like, we need to create a movement pattern, or we need
Hmm.
to create some semblance of understanding what the center of the club face feels like. The second that you can reliably create the same movement every single time, and a lot of people are going to go, oh, well, my swing's different every single day. It's probably not. If you've been playing consistently for more than 2 years, a year, like, your movement pattern isn't going to change much unless you're like 5 years old and you're still growing, in which case, I don't know how you got a Spotify account. But that's one of those where block practice is really important for movement patterns. One of the comments I got was, well, I'm trying to be consistent. That's why I'm aiming the same target every time. Like, well, then that's really cool if you want to be consistent on the driving range.
Yeah.
Like, the reality is that's not how golf's played. And
Hmm.
honestly, like, if that's your MO, like, you just want to feel good, like, that's cool. I'm totally cool with that. But block practice is really, really good at one thing, and that's movement patterns. Random practice is where you're going to begin to understand your actual dispersion patterns. It's where you're going to be able to understand your actual tendencies. It's where you're going to be able to apply actual pressure. If you think that pressure is making 49 3-footers in a row, and then the 50th one is the most pressure you've had all day, like, you're doing something wrong. You shouldn't have to do 50 squats to start feeling it. Like, just add weight. That's what random practice is. Random practice adds weight a lot quicker.
Yeah. That's great. And then the second question I was going to ask you, and this actually might get really like, you got to give me your answer, give me your opinion on this. Say you have the under 20 handicap. Okay. So we've already talked about this. An objectively good golfer. They would have that movement pattern down. They don't need to adhere to the same principles as the beginner golfer. They get a large bucket of balls. Sometimes that fluctuates. Let's say it's 75 balls. They use the first 25 as their warm up. The last 50 balls, how many should be block? How many should be random?
Those 25 were block. The
There you go.
25, yeah, and even then, like, the, uh the block practice, if you're trying to prepare to play better golf, the block practice should be used as a warm-up, not as a gauge of how good you're hitting it. And even then, we probably should be, like, stretching more as our warm-up, and then, like, those first few are just kind of, And this is
finding where
also
the
if
face is.
you're on a this is your random Tuesday, right?
Yeah,
There's a big difference between practicing and warming up for a round. Warming up
yeah,
for a round, in all honesty, and you'll hear tour pros talk about it, like, how you hit it during your warm up before a round really shouldn't matter. Like, Justin Thomas famously hit it terrible and then shot 63 at Winged Foot, is that right? Like, that's
hmm
man, it's a warm up.
in
That's what
pink
it is.
pants. Might we
Yes,
add in pink pants?
with the 3 wood from, like, 300 million yards away and land like yeah, that was sick.
Yeah,
Yeah. So, there's a lot of nuance here. I primarily stay within the practice sphere. Warming up is very well documented on how you're supposed to warm up your body. I think where a lot of people go wrong is they just extend the warm up to their random Tuesday session, and that's where you're missing out the most.
yeah, yeah. Isaac and I, we preach that when you do the random practice, it's not going to feel good. It borderline. Some people don't like saying the S word. It might suck.
Yeah.
I like to think of it as you're watching a movie and the hero is going through their montage, whatever training thing that's going to help them get to their goal. And the reason it's a montage is because there's a lot of grunting and groaning and they're sweaty and there's agony. But what happens in the movie? They get the result that they want. They train, they get to wherever that's what we got to be like when we're training on the range, when we're hitting balls. It's not going to feel good, but results might surprise you when you get out on the golf course. When you do that over time, you really create those neurological pathways in your brain that reinforce what random practice is like on the range because all you're doing on the golf course is random practice. Isaac, what is it in your video that you said what it actually is we're doing on the golf course? We're figuring it out on the fly.
Yeah, every single shot's different. Your goal in getting better at golf is actually just getting good at solving problems right the first time.
Yeah.
And so if you are practicing to solve a problem right the second time, like, it might translate a little bit, maybe, but, like, really it's not. It's like if I was to try to get better at Spanish and I've got a stack of 50 note cards, and I decide that in order for me to get better at Spanish, I'm just gonna practice one note card over and over and over again, like, I'm gonna get really good at that one note card, but then when it comes up in conversation, I'm gonna have no clue how to use it because I don't understand the context, and then also,
Yeah.
I'm missing out on 49 other note cards. Like, I don't understand. I think that it's just the road like, it's the easiest road. I mean, like
Yeah.
I said, I've fallen into this trap for a long time I was telling you
Yeah.
on Monday, like, my point of pride in college was to go through a set of irons a year because I wanted to wear out the 7 iron. Like, that's not okay, that's cool if I wanna, like, have my 7 iron look cool. That was my goal. My goal was to hit so many balls with my 7 iron that I would wear out the face. How often did I use my 7 iron in competition? Not much because I was driving at 320 and had wedge in the iron. Like, what I was just practicing to look cool, and I think
Yeah.
that's where a little bit of the human nature thing comes in. Like, you gotta go simulate holes on the range. You've gotta ask ChatGPT for random numbers. You've gotta the app comes out here very shortly. Like, you've gotta use some kind of structured random practice because the other thing is, like, you don't want pre-practice to be, like, a pain in the butt. Like, let's say I've got 30 minutes on my lunch break tomorrow and I wanna go hit balls. Like, I don't wanna have to spend 15 minutes before I go figuring out what I'm gonna do. So that's where it comes in, like, if you can get 18 random numbers, hit to those 18 random numbers and keep track of how well you do. We've also got if you're curious about how good those shots are, I did just put together this morning, like a big old stat sheet of like if you're a 20 handicap, here's how far away you should hit it from 100 yards and from as a 10 handicap and then, all that good stuff. So I think there's a lot of really good stuff in there. Main idea here is do your best to practice like you're going to go play. And that means we're going through our full routine, we're hitting to random targets, and we're trying to simulate the golf course as much as possible because that's A, how you're going to retain that practice better, and B, how you're going to start playing better golf. And we talked a lot about the driving range here. And I think a lot of, it does kind of feel like a lot of people complain about how many putts they made. So I don't, is that like a big, I mean, that's got to be a big one then, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Everyone always talks about finish the round. Oh man, I putted terrible. I had 36 putts. I had two putts. Everyone always thinks it's got to be a certain number. If it's below 30, then you putted well. Nobody really, and the reason that we count that is because it's an older, archaic type of stat. We had a whole stats episode, we talked about it. And one of the principles we came away with is that your strokes gained is what gives you your true actual numbers of how well you did. If you hit the green every single time and you're 60 feet away and you have 33, 36 putts, you actually are gaining strokes because it's hard to two putt from 60, 50, however many far away. The real principle is that your approach shots bleed into your putting. However you do with your putting um, is really exemplified based on how well or how poorly your approach shots were.
Putting is a big variable. It's what you'll see guys on the PGA Tour win because they had a really good putting week and everything else stayed really stable. But to your point, there's a lot of things that play into putting from a context standpoint. So, um, if you're gonna look at putting, you have to look at everything else, and that's where, like, if you don't wanna keep full strokes gained, use that simple stats tracker. I'm gonna plug, by the way, like, 3 different PDFs in this podcast, but, like, you should go download them all because 'cause they're free and they're actually very helpful. So, the simple stats tracker, and then your overall stats, and then, the 59-minute practice plan. I'm just gonna get them all out of the way so we can reference them all throughout. But putting is the second most important thing when it comes to scoring for every single skill level. Approach play is first, putting second, off the tee is third, and then chipping is way down there at 15%. So these are all really important. But I think the reason that a lot of people look at putting as the end all be all for how well their round went typically is because it's very finite. Like I either
Yeah.
made the putt or I didn't.
Yeah.
And this goes back to realistic expectations too. Like it was, what, from 5 feet, a 10 handicap makes 60% of their putts. That's wild. Like, you hear a PJ Tour player makes 50% of their putts from 8 feet, and you go, "Oh, that's kinda wild." You hear that a scratch golfer from 6 to 9 feet makes 49% of their putts. You go, "Oh, that's kinda wild." There's a bunch of 10 handicaps out there who are throwing putters over missed 5-footers, and they only make 60% of them. So you've gotta be able to accurately evaluate which part of your game is actually hurting you or not. Because like there right there's a great example. You make 2 out of 3 5-footers during your round as a 10 handicapper, you actually putted well. So putting wasn't the problem. Maybe you missed too many greens. Maybe that's your low hang. Maybe you hit 5 balls out of bounds. But because putting is so finite, because there's a end result that we can really accurately measure without having to put in yardages and things like that. Like we can accurately measure everything else. It just takes a little bit more effort. It takes 30 seconds a hole to get strokes gain data. But putting is the one thing you can think back on, like, ah, dang, I can still think of putts that I missed.
Yeah.
I can't really
Yeah.
remember many iron shots that I hit to 60 feet though,
Yeah.
even though
Yeah.
one of those lost me more shots than the other one.
Yeah. There's a lot of, I think there's a lot of reasons that we think that way. Whether it's when you watch pro golf, nobody ever thinks or talks about this, but the guys that they're showing on TV are the guys that are at the top of the leaderboard. And so they're playing well. They're hitting good shots. They're making a lot of putts. You see the leaders, make 3 10-foot putts in a row. Like that's statistically insanely abnormal for just golfers in general, let alone pro golfers. And so you see that and it allows you to convince in your mind, okay, well, I should be doing something similar to that. Yeah, yeah, they're pro golfers. I should be doing something similar to that. Hey, I see he has the same exact putter as me. I should be doing something similar to that. There's a whole different expectation management podcast that we can go down. There's no other sport in the world that you can have the same equipment or the same things as the guys that you're watching on TV, the same borderline the same equipment, but you can buy the putter that so and so player wins the players championship with. Because we're recording this before, so when Scotty wins by 10 million or whoever it is, we don't know right now. But there's that the expectation management of when you're hitting the 5-footer, you're probably playing on a public track that doesn't have the best greens. You're probably playing closer in the afternoon or whatever time, and you're putting through a million spike marks or a million things that people have walked over. Like it's okay. And to be throwing your putters over the missed 5-footers, that's 60% of higher handicap players make. It's just it is a recipe for disaster.
Well, I'm looking, I just pulled it up. Scratch golfers are 70% from 5 feet. Like,
Seventy percent.
that's a big kick into my, like, hey man, if you have 10 5-footers during the round, you're gonna miss 3 of them if you're
Yeah,
putting average.
yeah,
The interesting thing here is, like, okay, so you and I played in a couple scrambles together. Let's say we hit one to, I'm gonna go through this full, actually, I wanna go back to approach play. So, I'm a scratch golfer, or I'm gonna call you a PJ Tour golfer, and let's say we're playing with 2 10 handicaps. If we hit it to 20 feet from 125 yards, that's an incredible shot. PJ Tour average from 125 yards is 22 feet. So let's say we hit it to 20 feet. Like, ah, dang, we could have hit it closer because we only had a wedge in our hands. Okay, we're at 20 feet. Now our expected make rate at best combined for all of us is like 11%.
yeah.
It's 15% for a PG Tour player, 13% for a scratch golfer, 11% for a 10 handicap, and 9% for a 20 handicap.
But Isaac, my putting mat at home, I make 5 and 10 footers all the time. Like
Yeah.
I should be so upset that I'm missing a putt that actually has break.
And well, and that goes back to our like practice solving the problem right the first time.
Yeah,
This goes back to, if you're gonna go practice putting, in what world does hitting the same putt 2 times in a row help? Unless you're working on changing your movement pattern or ingraining your movement pattern. Like, I've got right here, I can hit basically like an 8.5 foot putt in my office because otherwise I'll hit my putter against the wall if I go too far back.
yeah,
Obviously, that's mostly block practice. I try to move around my office a little bit, so I gotta, like, realign and things like that, but from there, I'm just working on, "Okay, can I hit the center of the face? Can I start it straight? Can I hit the center of the
yeah,
face? Can I start it straight?" But then the second I get out of this office, I mean, even in the living room, like, I'll roll longer putts. The speed control is the majority of the battle here, and
yeah,
that's where I think a lot of people go, "Well, I made," like you said, I make every 20 footer on my
yeah.
putting mat." Like, okay, well, awesome. When there's a TGL for 45 handicaps, like, you let me know.
Yeah, so we're going to understand that when it comes to putting, understand where you started. Understand the why of everything. Okay, why did I putt bad? Why did I putt good? Where did I start everything to begin with? And we said the approach play can be a part of the problem. Speaking of approach play, our mistake number 3 is that a lot of golfers that find themselves in perpetual frustration need to understand you might not know your distances as well as you think you do. So you get the golfer that shoots the yardage 175. Hey, there's a flag 175 on the range. When I hit my 7 iron good, when I hit my whatever iron good, I get it there. They hit a shot, they either mishit it or they're not hitting it off a mat. So the ball goes further on the mat. Don't forget that. It comes up short. Man, I thought I did so good. Or you get you hit it perfect and it flies the green by 20 yards. There's two ends of it. But the number that's in your head and that's your best shot isn't the number that's your average shot. Is it? I mean, am I wrong on that, Isaac?
No, you're spot on, and here's what I'll go back to, and I've talked about this a lot. The way that I looked at getting that average number previously was hitting 30 balls in a row and taking the average. I think that you gotta be a little bit smarter than that. If that's your, like, fastest way there, like, okay, I don't love it because, like we talked about, like, the second you hit that second 7 iron in a row, it's not realistic to game time conditions.
Right.
So
Yeah.
in an ideal world, maybe we'd work through 3 clubs and just alternate them, and then, change the number on Foresight or on TrackMan or whatever. Um, but, like, I mean, a great example of not knowing your numbers is, you and I were talking on Monday about that Bob does sports. Not that I watch a ton of YouTube golf, but I was watching because the Grant Horvat stuff is so funny versus him. Like, he did the blindfolded one, and first hole, Bob was like, "Man, I'm just gonna club up like this. I'm clubbing up all year." He clubs up and he comes up like a little short. It's like, yeah, man, I don't know if that's really clubbing up then, is it? Like, that's just like almost playing the right number.
Yeah.
And like, when I figured this out, I just started clubbing up and swinging smooth. And for a little while, I think the best way to understand your tendencies is to way overdo it. So this is really easy to do. Like, okay, I'm missing everything right. I'm gonna do everything I can to hit it into the left rough until I can only do that, and then I'll find the middle. Okay, I'm hitting everything short. I'm gonna try to airmail every green from now on until I figure it out. Okay, I'm leaving every putt short. I'm gonna blow a couple 3 feet by until it's just, and you can do that with
Progress
any.
isn't pretty.
Yeah, and you can do that with any skill. I mean, you go shoot hoops and you're leaving them all on the front of the rim, like bank a few in. It's there is a lot to be said for just doing the opposite ugly and then Goldilocks in your way back.
Yeah, that's really good. I think when it comes to the specific numbering and we shoot the number, so we've already established golf ball tends to go a little bit shorter than what we actually think. I think another skill that can be easily implemented into your rounds is get familiar finding out the number to the front of the green, finding out the number over the green. If you're lucky enough to play a golf course, and a lot of public golf courses have the green grid or they have the GPS system that's in the cart. A lot of times that tells you the number to the front of the green or the number over. Shooting different landmarks, shooting bunkers, whatever it is, everyone has a rangefinder for the most part. When we have a broader context of what our target is, we're absolutely able to pick a number that is more suitable for our game. I'm gonna say that in the nicest way possible, but that's what it is.
Well, and listen, at the end of the day, like I realized maybe I've been like a little forward in this conversation. Like we're also preaching to the choir a little bit, and at the end of the day, like, I don't really care if you hit 6 or 7 iron there, like, all I care about is that you hit the green. There's no pictures on scorecards, alright? And if you come off a round and you clubbed up, let's say it's, I don't know, whatever, it's 140, and you're like, "Man, I feel like I need to hit 7 iron here, but I was just told I need to club up on everything." And you club up, and you hit it to the back of the green versus leaving one way short. Like, you're not gonna come into the clubhouse and go, "Yeah, man, but, like, I only hit 6 iron there, like, I shoulda hit 7 because then I hit my irons further." Like, there's no long drive contest for irons. That's what I used to tell in fittings. You get a lot of people that go, like, just ham, and if this is your first time hearing me speak, I worked in golf club fittings and retail for 8 years, and there was a lot of guys that would come in and just start wailing on 7 irons. It's like, "Man, there's no long drive contest for 7 irons, and if there was, you wouldn't win. I wouldn't win. So, like, let's focus on maybe closest to the pin. We can win that one. So, like you said, there's some really good ways to do it. I love the way that you're talking about front versus back, from a carry perspective. I do think that the best way to figure this out is probably doing that, like, kind of alternating through clubs, get your averages off of that as opposed to going back to back to back with the same club. But like I said, if you do that back to back to back, just take it with kind of a grain of salt. Maybe take 5 yards off of it because you're probably going to start hitting it further throughout the session. Um, yeah, I don't know what else you got Hayden there.
Yeah, there's a couple more uh I don't know if I call them like YouTube videos, or I know No Laying Up did a video where one of the guys went and played a golf course and they had the luxury of someone went ahead of them and took the flag out on every single
Oh
hole.
yeah.
So they didn't know where the flag was. And so you're getting certain numbers, you're getting over bunkers, middle green, being able to practice or being able to play and not have the flag stick be something that is it's the big thing that our eyes continue to draw to. We're figuring out where we want to aim, where we want to shoot the numbers. I A lot of times you can subscribe to the idea of I want to find the safest place for my ball to go to and work extra hard for that ball to go there. A lot of times your ball will, when you hit that shot or you try to hit that shot, it will end up in a more favorable spot than you would otherwise think. Oh, I'm playing too safe. Don't they say aggressive swings to conservative targets, all that. Yes, those are all true, but what we really want to do is eliminate the possibility, and we're going to talk about this on our next one, is to eliminate the possibility of hitting shots that are super super difficult, super hard. So are we good to transition to number 4?
Yeah, I think that, like you said, and you're gonna hit bad shots. Like that's just the reality. Like I
Right.
know when I finally get to get out, even it's pouring right here. By the way, it's disgusting. We finally started to get some good weather. Here's the Ohio weather update. Finally started to get some warm weather, and now it's pouring, which that's spring for you. But when I do finally get out to play, I know I'm gonna hit bad shots. Like that's just going to happen. I'm actually probably gonna hit more bad shots than I hit good shots. The key to those bad shots is not compounding mistakes, making wise decisions after I do hit those bad shots. Those blow up holes typically aren't because of one shot. They're because
Mhm.
of one bad shot that was followed by a bad decision, that was followed by a bad shot because of a bad decision. I mean, I've definitely done that, right? Where it's like, man, I just blew one way right with the driver, and then I went back for the driver and made the same swing. I could have just grabbed four iron and landed something. Um, or even, I airmail a green or hit one way right of a green. Okay, bad shot, it happens. But then I try to pull off a shot that I've never pulled off before, as opposed to just going for the lowest hanging fruit. Now I'm in a bunker. I think everybody can relate to that. I don't know. I mean, you've been caddying a bunch. How have you seen that kind of play out?
Our biggest numbers, and this is from the YouTube compilations of highest scores PGA Tour golfers have ever made. They all come from a bad shot, and it's compounded by an even worse shot, but it's mostly a even worse decision.
Mm,
The saying "take your medicine" is there for a reason. Punch out, make my college coach always told me, find a number that you're okay with and try to make that the worst that you can do on the hole. Okay, so college players, a lot of times that you hope that the worst that they can make is a bogey. Sometimes it's a double based on where you hit a certain spot. But if you think of the hole backwards and you think of that way, okay, what can I do now to make it to where I have a chance to two putt for that number? What can I do now to make sure that I have the chance to eliminate any possibility of the snowman nine, the double digit scores to start creeping in? If we start thinking about it that way, we're able to not make the shot after our bad shot the most expensive shot.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think Phil Mickelson said, like, he only tries to hit shots he can pull off 8 out of 10 times, which is crazy coming from him because, I mean, he's hit some wild
Yeah.
shots, but those are shots he feels he can pull off 8 out of 10 times. So a little bit of this is being honest with yourself too of, like, do you know off the top of your head what the difference is in terms of just, like, doubles made between handicap groups?
Yeah. So for a scratch golfer, it is 0.25, one quarter of the time they're making a double or they're making a double
Once every 4
0.25
rounds.
times per round. When it comes to the 10 handicaps, Isaac and I, our research showed that they were making it was three, right? 3.3 and some change. And then when it came to the 20 plus handicap, there are, and this is actually doubles or worse. This isn't just doubles, but for the 20 plus handicap, it is over 6.5 times per round. They're making a double or worse. And so
And
it's not searching for the birdies. It's the big number avoidance that will astronomically drop your handicap.
and, like, in all reality, you're gonna make some doubles at every level, clearly. So, the goal is to eliminate the decision-based doubles. Like, if you're a 20 handicap and you dump one in the water, it's like, man, yeah, at some degree, making contact is hard, right? Golf is really hard, and the better that you get, the less that you're gonna make the simple, like, contact-based mistakes or face awareness mistakes or rolling a 30-footer 8 feet by the hole mistakes. They're still gonna happen, but they're gonna happen less. So, like, just keep it simple. Like, I think the fix to this is after a bad shot, give yourself time to be mad. I do wanna be clear about that too. Like, it's okay to get frustrated. It's not okay to be like the guy that everybody hates playing with, but it's okay to be like, "Hey, but between now and when I get to my ball, I'm allowed to be a little, upset at myself." Like, that's totally fine. But once you get there, reset, make a good decision, hit the shot you can pull off 8 or 9 out of 10 times. Like, let's just be wise with how we're handling previous quote unquote failure, even though failure is part of golf. I mean, failure basically is golf. I think I've won one tournament in the past decade, 8 years.
Yeah, but
Like,
we won a tournament
we
together.
did win a tournament together. So I guess that's two. But like, I failed, let's say 98% of the time, and all I do is golf. Like, this is it. This is my whole thing. This is my whole shtick. I've I'm at a 2% success rate. So you can't look at failure, quote unquote, or not succeeding to the degree that you thought as like I suck. It's like, man, it's just part of golf. Like, just squeeze the most juice you can out of that round, squeeze the most juice out of that you can out of that next shot. And after you hit a bad one, let's move on. Let's squeeze the most we can out of the next shot by being wise and walk away with a bogey because once again, no pictures on scorecards. And the bigger the number is, the more you're probably going to end up getting questions about it. So, dude, how'd you make an eight? Well, let me tell you about how I made four bad decisions in a row,
Yeah.
which kind of goes into strategy a little bit because I do think some of us can think, okay, I've got, even for myself, oh, yeah, I can take it over that corner. Like, I mean, you probably see it out playing professionally all the time. There's probably guys who try to bite off a little bit more than they can chew.
Hmm.
What do you think is maybe like the biggest problem when it comes to strategy? What's the most common problem when it comes to strategy?
The most common problem when it comes to strategy is, and it very much relates to our last topic. People look at where they hit certain shots and they don't ever reevaluate.
Mhm.
So you hit a tee shot that's it's in trouble. When I'm was caddying or when I am caddying, I say, "Hey, I think we just got to make this hole a 3-shot hole now." And it eliminates a lot of big numbers. Another big reason why some people's course strategy isn't the most efficient or effective is that a lot of times golfers aren't playing the tees that they should be playing, or they're evaluating their game based on someone else's game.
I'm gonna plug the PDF here right now. Let's go download that.
Yeah, but it's really important that you got to understand like what level of golfer are you? Where do you want to be? And simple, strategic, really course management tactics that can help you play the best that you can be.
Mhm.
Course management tactics, a lot of things that Isaac and I really harp on is making sure that you're hitting your tee balls in a findable and hittable spot, making sure that from 150 yards in, we're just working hard to have a lower scoring average. Um, some things that are in our practice PDF, double chips, those are things that are huge. And then when we're on the greens, if we can make more putts, inside the 10 foot, inside the 8 foot, inside the 5 foot range, we're going to be doing a lot better than we otherwise would be.
Yeah, there's a lot of expectation management in this. Even from a like I know what number do I need to start aiming away from a tucked flag. And it's gonna be different for everybody because everybody's like we talked about dispersion's a little different, but even understanding simple things like that. Okay, at what point am I just trying to get this thing A on the green? At what point am I maybe trying to get aggressive? There's a time and a place to start aiming at pins. But the other thing is to a middle pin, you could aim at the left side of the green and hit it accidentally to the middle pin and go, oh, well, that was a great shot just based on the result. So, like you said, that's where like the scoring averages come in a little bit, especially inside 150 yards. Um, yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot here when it comes to strategy. I think the what I've found is there's a lot of systems out there, and all of the systems are good. A lot of the systems are data based, but at the end of the day, the system that you end up with has to work with your personality. Is what I was talking to somebody about the other day. It was they didn't, and I'm not gonna like name names on systems, but they're like, yeah, I just don't really, I've been told this system's like the best for course management. That's all I hear about. He's like, but I don't really like enjoy doing it. Like, yeah, dude, then don't do it. Like the goal is for you to play the best golf you possibly can. And if using a mathematical system is going to fog up your thoughts a little bit more and you're going to play worse because of that, then let's figure out a system that works for you. So if you're a little bit more analytical, maybe use one of those database systems. If you're a little bit more on the quote unquote creative side, we'll call it that. I hate using those as opposites, but like if you're not as analytical, I should say, let's come up with more of a like vibes based system. I don't like you can come up with something that works really well for you that you can adhere to very quickly. It's the same thing with
Mhm.
putting. Um, what was it? Last week's episode, we talked to Dom, which was awesome. Go listen to that. And he talked about picking your speed before you hit your putt. And I think that's another one of those where you've got to work your personality in. There were two guys who were older than me when I was playing high school golf who both went to Illinois State, both great players. One of them dripped every single putt in, and one of them banged every putt into the back. And I'm willing to bet you can guess what their personalities were like. based off of that. And it holds true. So the way you're going to play your best golf is by making it work for you, by making it work for your personality, by making it as automatic to yourself as possible. That was a lot there. I went on a little ramble. Deep apologies to people who are still listening at this point. But I don't know. What do you got, Hayden?
No, I love all that. I love all that. Whatever system fits your personality, very simply, as I said, adhere to that. That's it.
Because
That's
the
it.
other thing is, like, we're not making this podcast for Scotty Scheffler. Like, we're making this podcast for myself or for Luke or for other people who have a 9 to 5 and are trying to, like, just enjoy the game.
Yeah.
And so the simpler we can make it, the less it gets in our way, and the more time that we can spend on the golf course having fun, like that at the end of the day is the goal. And
Yeah.
so if the system that you're using to score better is less making it less fun, don't use it. Like, because you're probably scoring worse if you're not enjoying it. You're probably thinking
Yeah.
about it too much.
Yeah.
And yeah, part of enjoying golf is getting better. So let's make that system that you get better with a lot more simple and a lot less in your way so you can go play ready golf. Absolutely shameless plug. Thanks, folks. That app launches March 29th. We're going to have a discount code on here that you can snag. We're very excited about that. We'll be announcing that very soon. But Hayden, I don't know. I mean, are we missing anything before we kind of close out here?
So, Isaac, understanding today, we talked about the 5 biggest mistakes that are low hanging fruit. One, your practice structure is currently working against you. Let's go random. Number 2, your approach shots are costing twice what your putting costs. So practice accordingly. Number 3, you're under clubbing on almost every approach shot. Trust your average, not your best shots. Number 4, the shot that you hit after a bad shot is your most expensive. So let's make bogey and move on. Let's work hard on making bogey. And then lastly, currently, golfers are playing a strategy designed for a scratch golfer. Just do what works best with you, your personality, and unrelentlessly, unashamed, adhere to it.
Most golfers show up to the driving range and think that their swing is the problem. But the 5 biggest mistakes that most amateur golfers make that directly impact their score have nothing to do with their swing. Your swing is really important, but it is not the most important thing when it comes to scoring. And I know that sounds crazy, but if you want to get better at golf, you've got to focus on the simple things that are decision based, that are purely up to you just deciding to do the right thing. So, hopefully this episode was helpful. It was a little bit more rambly. I think this was our like least structured episode we've done so far. We had a handful of notes in there that we kind of referenced, but it was a lot of fun. So if you got to this point in the episode, hey, thank you. Really, like that means a ton. 42 minutes and 51 seconds in. But if you got any questions, please let us know. You can shoot me an email, Isaac@playready.golf. Would love to hear feedback on if this was a good structure versus the other stuff we're doing. I think our primary goal is to get to 100 episodes and then figure out what works. So we're about 2 years
Exactly.
away from that. So we're still figuring things out, still enjoying it, still having fun. Once again, if you want more information on any of those PDFs that we talked about on the app, all those links will be down below. All the studies that I referenced will be down below. Feel free to just copy and paste those links into ChatGPT and ask them what they say, because I know nobody's going to go read them. So, thanks again, Hayden. This is a blast. Hayden is playing. So we're recording this a little early, like Hayden said before the players. Hayden is playing in Q School next week. So wish him luck. I'll make sure to post that live scoring on the Instagram. So we'll keep track. Best of luck, dude. We're
Boring
pumped
golf.
for you. You're
That's
gonna
what
go
we're
play a
aiming
bunch of
for.
boring golf for exciting results. Ooh, that's a good catchphrase. Boring
Boring golf
golf for
for
exciting
exciting
results.
results. Love that.
I love that. I might have to trademark that. All right.
Put it on a
Nobody else.
t-shirt.
Nobody else trademark that. Okay. Uh, all right. Thanks again, guys. Hayden, I'll talk to you soon, man.
See y'all.